Hello, and welcome to the No Score Review Show, where we get into in-depth discussion and nuanced critique of the latest films, television, and video games, as well as all of those things I just said that have already come out in the past. I am your host, Nick Green. Today, joining me is Matt Schmidt. Welcome back to the show, Matt.
Hello. It's starting
I
to
don't
feel
have-
like back into old times again of being on every other week.
I don't have either of the people who reviewed, or I guess it was just Jake for the franchise and review. Shay was supposed to be on, but I don't have Jake around to discuss the last Mission Impossible franchise. He really fumbled that one.
And
But-
Shay wasn't able to attend the screening due to personal reasons.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, just
it's
overall,
all
it's all over the place, but it's always good to have you on the show. I'm happy and excited
shucks.
to talk Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part
Well,
1.
that makes two of us.
The first bit of this review will be spoiler free as usual, and then we'll get into the explicit details later on. There will be an explicit spoiler warning, all that jazz.
Oh, and it's
but
going to
for
be
now-
explicit.
Oh, it'll be explicit.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we'll start with our general thoughts and expectations. Matt, if you want to give a quick rundown of your history with the Mission Impossible franchise, since you weren't there for the full-on franchise and review, feel free to include that as well.
All right. Well, I've seen... The only ones that I've seen more than once are Ghost Protocol.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, that's it. That's the only one I've seen more than once. I thought I had seen more. I thought I'd seen Fallout twice, but I was wrong.
Interesting.
So
okay.
I've only seen Ghost Protocol twice, and all the other ones once. But
wow. Okay. So I'm guessing you're pretty fuzzy on the whole franchise then? Or-
I'm pretty fuzzy. I have an idea of what I think. But that being said, I still have a very clear idea in my mind of at least the last three.
Sure.
If not
the ones that
first
matter.
three. The ones that matter, the post J.J. Abrams era, the Chris McQuarrie era.
Yep.
I think back on that trilogy, if you would say, quite fondly. And I think they all had a consistent track record of one-upping the one before it.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess part of me believed that they would do the same with Dead Reckoning. Because, as history shows, that's what they were going to do.
Yeah.
But perhaps that was asking too much to do 4 in a row.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I was expecting to be one-upped. But I don't think that was the case.
Yeah, we won't get into too much detail, but I think I'm right there with you. I think it was still a very good. It's kind of our chat with the Wes Anderson movies a little bit. It's more of a plateau a little bit, right?
Echoing the same thing.
Yeah. It's not quite the one-upmanship that they've been doing the last few entries, but it was still a great thrill ride. I think we shared some sentiments on some of the structuring and the script structure, particularly in the first act, and maybe even just some of the editing, if nothing else, with how the whole plot and story of it is set up. But when it delivers, it delivers. A lot of the stunt sequences are great. They're still really exciting, really fun. But I don't think it quite nails the feel. Well, no, not necessarily the feel, but it just doesn't quite reach those highs that the previous few films have managed to reach. Rogue Nation still remains my favorite. Follow is closely behind, and then this one and Ghost Protocol I think are kind of level pegging with each other as of right now. Maybe Dead Reckoning Part 1 will go below Ghost Protocol for now, just because, I've only seen it the once. I need to still get a bit of a better feel for it as time goes on. But I still really enjoyed it. The whole cast was great. I think that was one of the strong suits of it. McQuarrie and Cruz are a great team. and I think this
Definitely.
is like definitely one of the better blockbusters of the summer so far, at least.
For sure. I mean, comparatively to the rest of the Mission Impossible franchise, yeah, it might not be as good as Fallout or Rogue
Hmm.
Nation.
Right.
But that being said, it's still better than most things that you're going to see.
Yeah,
It's,
especially this summer, man. There's been a lot of tanks this summer, like
yeah, it's really,
crazy.
it's not looking great so far. I think in the next 2 weeks, perhaps,
That might
we're
change.
going
Yeah,
to
for
have
sure.
a
We're
couple
still
of big ones
relatively
coming
early.
out.
Yeah.
So we still got some weeks and some
But I
months to
think
go.
the expectation, like if you were like to ask us at the beginning of the year and be like, the Flash is going to tank hard, and Indiana Jones might not do that well,
I mean,
and the
I could have
latest
told you
Pixar
that.
film, well, I mean, okay, I,
Maybe
if you
I'm
would
the
have asked
skeptic.
me, yeah, yeah, I'm the optimist in this duo. But like the latest Pixar film, like tanks, right? Like it's a bunch of these failures at the box office that maybe are more surprising to most people.
And what's
Um,
the common thread between a lot of these?
what is it, Matt?
Disney
Oh yeah,
and
well,
franchises.
yeah,
Other than
okay,
I mean,
the
other than the
latter for sure.
Flash,
Yeah,
but a lot of it is also Disney. I mean, you
that's
look
true.
at Quantumania, you look at
Hmm.
the Pixar thing. I don't even know what the name is.
Elemental,
Elemental, yeah, okay, it makes
yeah,
sense. And then you look
Indiana
at
Jones.
Indiana Jones.
Hmm.
It's Disney franchises, and then the
Hmm.
Flash, which is it was always expected to fail. I think
Right.
I didn't have a
I
doubt
mean,
in
there
my
were.
mind that that was going to be a bad movie.
Sure, I think there was a lot of hype built up that the like
True.
marketing team and some of like the higher ups at Warner Brothers were really putting a lot of faith in, because like they canned Batgirl, but they were like, we're hedging our bets, we're putting all our
Like, how bad must Batgirl be?
oh
If they're
dude,
like
could you
we're going to
imagine?
put all of our eggs in this basket.
Yeah,
You know what?
right.
I have a hint that Batgirl actually isn't bad, and the executives just have
Dude,
horrible
it's
taste.
just so much curiosity now, and more than
Like,
anything,
just
right? It's
release
like I just
it.
want to
Come
see it.
on.
Yeah. Okay, let's getting back on track from that
We're
tangent.
right, right. Oh,
Um,
right. We're talking about
yeah,
Mission
we're talking about Mission
Impossible.
Impossible. This is definitely one of the
Mm.
strong entries in this year and this summer, more specifically. I think if you're going in expecting the great time you had from the previous entries in this franchise, then I think that they will be met. I'm seeing a lot of praise for this film online, where it's like
Yeah,
it's met or exceeded Fallout for a lot of people, which like personally I don't agree with, but like there's a lot of praise for it is all I'm trying to bring attention to. So I think a lot of people are really going to enjoy it. It's not like a lot of the CGI schlock fests, right? It is part of a franchise, but it's I think one of the few, apart from like maybe like John Wick, uh, like non superhero franchises that's actually succeeding and um, bringing out continual like solid entries in the franchise itself. So
yeah. I mean, I think you could also, to a degree, say like the Fast and Furious movies, which I think peaked in the middle of the franchise with like
yes, I think a
Fast,
lot of
like
people would agree.
with like 5, 6, and even 7, like
Five, six, seven, yeah, that,
the end of the Paul Walker era. I think
yeah,
that's where that series peaked. You've got
yeah,
John Wick that gets better with age. These definitely with the technical, uh, the technical
prowess,
advancements that we've
yeah,
been able to make in time. Definitely, these movies have improved, if not
hmm,
maybe reaching like a peak at some point. But because this is
hmm,
also number 7,
yeah,
um, I don't know how many movie series get better after 7.
yeah, true, yeah,
You know,
exactly,
uh,
yeah.
other than like I can't think of anything else that would maybe fall in this category.
To the extent of like or like to the level of quality and consistency, I can't think of anything honestly.
Unless you want to count like the whole MCU, which probably peaked around like phase
Well,
2
peaked.
and
I don't
3,
know that
the end
like
of 2
where.
and 3.
Yeah, I'm not
Like
sure.
Ragnarok, Winter Soldier,
But there, yeah,
that
like
kind of Civil
I
War era.
Civil War. That was beginning of Phase 3. I think Phase 3 is probably where it peaked overall
Probably.
because
Yeah.
that was a
Right as
lot.
they were building up to the end.
There was a
And
lot of
then,
Infinity War hype. There was a lot of great solo movie entries around that time too, right? Phase 2 faltered a little bit. Like there were definitely strong entries in that one, but I think
right.
Phase
Yeah.
3.
But there was also like Thor too.
Yeah, Thor 2, Avengers Age of Ultron got a
Ooh.
lot of crap.
Ooh.
Iron Man 3 even got a lot of crap as
Yeah. I
well.
didn't like that one.
Um, but yeah.
I'm an Iron
So,
Man 2 and Incredible Hulk apologist. I think those are good movies.
okay. But an interesting tease for the eventual MCU in review I will do on this channel. But we'll
You heard
save
it
that
here
for
first,
then.
folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking
We
too
need
much
to
about
get
other
back to.
movies. Hold on.
Yeah, that's
Rewind.
okay. So I think, yeah, just to put like one final bow on the whole general thoughts conversation, still definitely recommend Dead Reckoning Part 1. It has a few like weaknesses here and there plot wise, but on the entertainment level and the stunt level, I think it's still great. And yeah, just a worthwhile theater experience for this summer.
For
So
sure.
that is where we're going to call it for spoiler free talk. This is your explicit spoiler warning for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. God, that title is a beast. So, yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out in the theater and be sure to come back to see what we thought of it in depth. So, Matt, what are some of your highlights and lowlights? Where do you want to start? You want to start negative? Start positive?
I want to start with my lowlights.
Let's do it. Let's get into it.
My biggest lowlight was before the movie started. And Nick knows exactly what I'm
I
about
know
to say.
exactly. I have the same sentiment.
Before this movie started, as part of the pre-show, first they played 2 trailers. They
Yep.
played Ninja Turtles
Mm-hmm.
and they played Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yep.
And then they
What a
played...
weird duology.
Yeah, right. They played 10 minutes worth of featurettes
Mm-hmm.
for Dead Reckoning right before the movie started,
Mm-hmm.
including a breakdown of the car chase sequence,
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of other random bits from the red carpet,
Yep.
and I don't even remember what the last one was because
I
I
think it was
toned...
just like a director, like Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise coming out to be like, "Hey, thanks for coming to the
Oh,
movie,
right.
seeing
So,
this on the
okay.
big screen."
It was
That one
mostly
was
just 2
smaller, but
featurettes.
yeah,
But specifically the car chase one,
yeah.
ridiculous, because for one, I had no idea about any of that content. I knew there was going to
Nope,
be like a car chase,
dude.
but I'd only
Just
seen a
as a
couple things from the
tiny
trailer.
side note, I don't think I ever watched a trailer for this film. Like I knew
Really?
it was coming out. Yeah, man. I don't think I watched a single trailer.
I think
Like
I
I
saw
think I
it
might have seen
in
the
front of
clip of the
Top
motorcycle
Gun.
jump, but
Oh yeah, that's fair.
yeah,
Well,
that's
when I
it.
saw Top Gun, they showed the BTS thing for that as well. There was like
Right.
Tom Cruise doing whatever. He's like, "Hey, thanks for coming to the theater. Here's a
Mm-hmm.
sneak peek for Mission Impossible," and then he fucked off and
Okay.
did
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I saw that they did a lot of showing you all the big moments in the trailer to begin
Mm-hmm.
with. There wasn't really any aha moment that you see in the movie that isn't already sort of blown for you. But then they
Yeah.
decide to go in detail and break down this pretty decent car chase,
Yeah.
showing you a lot of the big story beats,
Mm-hmm.
showing you the goofy reveal when the little buggy comes out.
Pops out. Yeah.
And that would have been an amazing moment to witness in the context of the
Fresh.
movie for the first time,
Absolutely.
fresh, and have that like, oh, you think it's going to be this like Aston Martin or whatever the gray
Yeah.
car in front was, and
Yeah.
then pops out this little yellow thingy, and they talk about, oh yeah, it's, it's really hard to handle and all this, and they show a bunch of the clips of it going down the stairs and going through the
Hmm.
streets and dodging police cars, and you see like most of the chase
Yeah.
in just out of order and out of context.
Hmm.
So then when you see it in the movie an hour later, it's like it's almost the centerpiece of the movie. It's like right smack in the middle.
Yeah.
And you've seen it all like an
Yeah.
hour just earlier. So it's like you're watching the scene twice, and
Yeah.
all of that emotional kick is gone because you're like, well, I already know. And then
Hmm.
in the featurette, they're talking about how, oh, this was incredibly difficult to film. This is one of like the hardest car chases that's ever been done. And it was like one of the biggest challenges as a filmmaker we've ever done. And then you watch it and you're like, I've
Yeah.
seen better.
Yeah.
Like,
It was like you're either numb to the fact that it's happening, or you're disappointed because you just saw it like 45 minutes ago, right?
and
In
they were
depth.
talking it up so much too. So
Yeah.
you're
Like the whole
expecting this
thing
really
about
huge thing.
Tom Cruise having to learn how to drive with one hand, that wasn't really that big of a feature of that whole chase,
Yeah,
right?
because
Like
they
it was
barely
more in the
showed it.
background. Yeah, yeah. The editing of that whole scene as well wasn't like great.
I
But
understand what they were trying to do, trying to condense time and make it action packed and everything. But I don't know. I'm one of those guys that I like long takes. Like, keep me in the scene. If it's a car chase, yeah, it's cool to have those moments where there's a lot of fast cutting if something's happening.
mhm,
But if you're just like holding on a scene or a shot for like a second or less at a time, then I'm losing track of where everybody is.
right.
And then it makes it feel more staged because, like, okay, you could have had all these shots pulled from wherever. It doesn't
Hmm.
necessarily feel like this chase is happening in a real space. Like, I want to
Right.
see long takes of a car doing like a skid or a drift, or crashing through things, or we do a big zoom out and an aerial shot of this car going through the streets.
Yeah, it felt
They
like a
did that
very claustrophobic
It was a
chase,
very
so it was
claustrophobic
easy to get
chase.
lost a lot of the time, right? Like the streets of Rome maybe weren't the most practical space to do that in, because it didn't quite lend itself to some of those like contextual shots that you could use.
Yeah. And they
Um,
mentioned too in the featurette that that's sort of what they were going for, of letting the streets of Rome sort of dictate the style of the chase that they were doing.
sure.
So because the roads are so thin and the buildings are so high, that's sort
Hmm.
of lending to the claustrophobia of it all. But even then, within the confines of the location that you're shooting in, like, there's nothing stopping you from being a few car lengths ahead and throwing a wide lens on your
Yeah.
camera.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that was a big letdown for sure. I imagine I'll probably warm up to that scene a little bit more with more time, have like away from having actually seen it. Like the next time I revisit this film, it'll be like, oh,
Yeah.
I really enjoy that part of the
I
movie,
think it'll
right?
age well because they
Yeah,
really did it. So,
yeah,
it's not like it's going to be bad CG that's aging
totally.
poorly
I think
like
one of my
some things.
highlights, like immediately for that scene too, was like the sound design in particular with I think her name was Paris, the like right hand man
Yeah.
to Gabriel,
Yeah, when
the
she was in the
her
big Hummer,
vehicle.
that
Yeah,
was
that was
great.
so good. That was very well done, especially in contrast to the tiny zippy little
Yeah,
Fiat. Right,
I
that was
agree.
very well done. Yeah, bit of a sour note, unfortunately. More of a complaint about like just contextual marketing is a hell of a thing sometimes, and just
Yeah.
so confusing. Like I get the sentiment of like, oh, early event screening will show you a little bit about the film, but like I don't know, the
If it's
execution
even the
just wasn't
case,
there, man.
we'll have to see what people say now that it's now is Thursday when we're recording this, and it's
Hmm.
the actual release day of the movie. So we'll see if other people that are watching it now have the same thing.
Hmm.
It might just be something that they're choosing to do before this movie in
Right?
general. It might
Yeah,
not be because of the early event, but it might. So
maybe.
we'll have to see what other people's reactions are, because so far all of the people that I've seen on Letterboxd that have seen the movie, a lot of them have been having the same complaint of like, why did we need to see this right
Oh,
before
really?
we
Okay.
watch it? I've had a few people comment on my review, and I've seen it in a few other people's, and
Mm-hmm.
most of them share the same sentiment. And a
Right.
lot of them are people that like don't watch the trailers and they don't want to see promotional material before the movie.
Yeah.
And then when
Mm-hmm.
you just have it shoveled in your face right before you watch it, it's like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
It's like having somebody tell you the plot of a movie right before you sit down and watch it. I mean,
Yeah.
not really, but in the
Right.
same essence. If somebody
Mm-hmm.
explained it to you, would it really be as cool if you watch it and then it's like, oh yeah, it did happen like you said
Yeah.
earlier?
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like breaking down. It'd be like going to a horror movie, and then before the movie starts, they're like, "We're gonna break down this one jump scare
Yeah, the
sequence."
jump scare, or like, we're going to break down this death scene of a main character
Yeah.
before you watch the movie. And you're like, all
Yeah.
right,
Right. All right.
thanks.
Yeah. 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 Any other? Actually, we'll stay on the negative train. I'll do
This
one
is
of
going to be a
my
long one.
low lights. my one of my bigger low lights in the actual movie itself was I don't want to call it first act, because there is more to the first act than just these like two particular scenes, but like basically the first two sequences we see: the Russian submarine bit
Mm-hmm.
and the uh like I don't know what you want to call it, like the CIA like executive meeting or whatever, that all of those like top officials are having, discussing the rogue AI. And like the submarine bit was like relatively interesting. It definitely was a little more show than tell compared to
Yep.
the next scene, and setting up the rogue AI a little bit. While we're on it too, I also really love the, like, whether it was intentional or not, the like callback to Alien, because like the set design of the entity looks exactly like the mother like capsule in the first
Yeah,
Alien
I
film,
think that was definitely on purpose.
especially
I noticed that
because
too.
the submarine is called the Sevastopol, which is also an alien. I mean, it's also a real life place, like a city, but
Yeah.
it's an alien reference as well, which was really cool. I
Mm-hmm.
love that little kind of Easter
I'm
egg.
surprised they didn't call it the Nostromos.
Exactly, right? Yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, otherwise, that scene was a very interesting setup. Even honestly, even the scene after, actually, I think it's sandwiched in between the executive meeting and the submarine when we see Ethan for the first time. Ethan's introduction really also didn't need to be that way. Like, we know who Ethan Hunt is by this point, right? And like, he steps out of the shadows. That's kind
Yeah,
of cool and everything, but like,
and they
really didn't
exposition
need.
dump us
Yeah,
with
like,
like his mission that also was unnecessary.
yeah. I think there could have been a really good opportunity. I mentioned this to you after we saw it, of like kind of playing with the audience's expectations a little bit, because every single film starts, and I mean Rogue Nation does it a little bit as well. Every single film starts with that mission debriefing, right? So like it would have been a
Yeah.
great opportunity to like uh, have us go in blind and follow this like a special ops team who we don't see like the faces of and everything, and then you get the voiceover of like the your mission should you choose to accept it type thing. They get the debriefing, and it's like, we're looking for this key, and it turns out that Ethan Hunt has stolen it and like gone rogue again, right? So we're not actually
Yeah.
following Ethan, we're following a different team, the team who's hunting Ethan throughout this film. And like that would have been a cool kind of like subversive moment, right? And that still we get that exposition dump through the mission debriefing, right? Of like, oh, this key unlocks this rogue AI that's infiltrating the world and everyone's trying to get it, right? um but like the scenes we got were just such a slog, man. That executive scene in particular was just so brutal. And like Elwes, I think that's how you say his name, his
Yeah, I don't
character
know.
was just so cheesy, man. It's like, so you're telling me it can think, right? It's like, oh god,
For people
please.
who don't know what sentient means,
Yeah, exactly. It's so
so it
brutal.
can think for itself.
Yeah, it's brutal, man. I like
Yeah.
was so checked out of that like first act up until we get to the airport. Thankfully, the airport like kicks things into high gear and like really like does not slow down. That
Yeah,
was
that's where the
easily
movie
my favorite.
starts.
Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, it. I just want to see like a shorter cut of this film where they just like omit those scenes entirely.
I'm looking
Um,
forward to the inevitable fan cut where people will just splice part 1 and
both,
2
yeah,
together and make it a
yeah.
better movie.
Honestly, that's
Cut out a bunch
something
of the
I was
junk.
thinking about while we were watching the movie. I was like, man, I just want to see this film without that shit in it, man. It's
Yeah, it's
just
like
brutal.
Topher Grace's cut of the Star Wars
Star Wars.
prequels
Yeah,
that I would love to see.
totally.
I
Yeah.
really would.
Um, all right, let's say some more positive stuff. Matt, what are some highlights you have?
Highlights, you know, the train sequence at the end
Yeah.
is the whole thing. You know, it's all this build up to this stunt that they've been teasing in all the promos from the very
Mm-hmm.
beginning and all the behind the scenes stuff of like, oh, Tom Cruise insisted that we shoot this scene first so that if he dies, we can rewrite the movie around it. But yeah, they have all this build up. He's on the bike. You know, he misses the train. He does all this. Like, we know what's coming.
Right.
And they finally get to it. And it fulfills the expectations. It's
Yeah,
pretty great. It's
it's
a
pretty
great
great.
stunt. And then they show a little bit of extra free fall stuff at the end that you haven't
Mm-hmm.
seen. So that's kind of one moment
It
where you're
also
like,
has a
oh,
great
something new.
comedic like ending to it as well, where he like flies through the
Oh,
side of
yeah.
the train car. That
Yeah.
was great.
Because he's gone for a while. And
Yeah,
then there's this whole other scene that's taking place in the car.
yeah.
And you're
Grace is
wondering, I
like,
was,
she's so worried. She's like, "Are you going to be on the train?" He's like, "I'll be there. I
yeah.
promise." And
And
then we're
it
just
goes
with
on for
Grace for
so
a long
long.
time. Yeah.
And I was thinking around that time, I'm like, where is Ethan? And then boom, he flies through the fucking train.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. I really loved Vanessa Kirby. I think she's great. I totally
Hmm.
forgot that she was even in this series.
Dude,
I'm glad they brought her back.
having her or having sorry having watched these films so close in succession to one another again, it's crazy if you go back and watch, because her character is the daughter of the arms dealer from the first movie.
Hmm.
And if you go back and watch that film, so much of the mannerisms and like facial expressions, it like she is so convincing of being her daughter. It's like so good. It's
Really?
crazy.
Okay, I'll
Yeah,
have to check
yeah,
that out.
yeah. It's really good.
Yeah, she's a
Vanessa
great
Kirby's great.
actor.
Hmm.
Great actor. She really needs to get like a big break
Totally.
as a lead in something. I've mostly seen her as a supporting actor in
Yeah,
most
the
things,
lead
but
stuff she has had, I think, has been smaller stuff. Like I think there was a Netflix original a while back
I know that
that she
one
was
where it
in.
like opens up with like a 30-minute miscarriage scene or something like
Yeah, I
that,
think
and
that's
it's
what
like,
I'm
oh
thinking of.
yeah, I cannot bring myself to watch that,
Right.
but I really hope that she does get something soon where she can
Totally.
really like show off her stuff because I think she's
Hmm.
really talented.
If there were
Um,
to ever be a Mission Impossible film without Tom Cruise, I think don't you totally have to have Vanessa Kirby on board. Not like necessarily as a lead, but like part of an ensemble cast. I think you'd sorely be missing out.
Definitely.
Um, Haley Atwell was also really good. I loved
Haley Atwell was
her.
great. She
She
had
held
tons
her
of
own against
charisma.
Tom Cruise. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally. Yeah.
she was
Uh,
great.
I would say she like they didn't like sexualize her character at all, and I was still like thirsting in the theater. Like she's just gorgeous, man.
Yeah,
But like actual character wise, she was great, and she like is very competent. Like she like they
she
showcase
holds
her
her own.
being a
Yeah,
great thief as well a lot of the time, which is really good.
and she's smart too. Like she does that
She's very
thing of
smart.
pretending that that Ethan is like sexually harassing her when they're exiting the police station,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that all
yeah,
the other people stop her and she can get out. And then
yeah.
she was it? Did she handcuff Ethan as well?
To the Fiat in the train tunnel. Yep.
But did she also handcuff herself
No,
to
I
him, or
think
was that
no,
was
no.
that him?
Ethan handcuffed himself to her because he didn't
Right,
want her
right.
getting away. Yeah.
True, true. Yeah. Okay. But still, like, yeah, she had a lot of great moments where she made smart decisions that sort of outsmarted Ethan, which was
Hmm.
good. She wasn't just like this, you know, this hot babe to just be the
Totally.
object of desire.
Thankfully. Yeah.
Even though she's still, I mean, she still fulfilled that role for
Yeah.
whatever reason, but she was also other things at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand really why Ethan became so immediately infatuated with her. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
I don't
sort of
know.
just another trend where, it's like the James Bond thing where there's the new girl every movie that they become obsessed with, and
It
then
it read to me a little less romantic and more kind of like big brother or father, a little bit, because he's making sure she's okay, and it's more like taking care of this person that he's like cross paths with, right? Because like he checks in on her a lot and he's like very protective of her. So like that kind of read to me that way a little bit. Um, but yeah, I don't know. There's
yeah,
definitely been a
that's
history
fair.
with the characters throughout. I think Rebecca Ferguson's character was the strongest out of the whole franchise.
Yeah, and they really
Of being like an
botched her
equal.
character in this one.
Yeah, man, it was really unfortunate. I mean, like I appreciated the sword fight bit a little bit, but it wasn't quite as good as like some of her past scenes. Like her fight scene in Rogue Nation was way better. Um, but yeah, they really sidelined her a lot of the movie, which sucks. I wanted to say something else about Haley Atwell. Oh, right. Her character also has like some great dimension with like being in over her head. They show that a lot of the time really
Yeah,
well, and she looks like she's almost on the verge of a breakdown sometimes too, right? And she sold that very well. There were a couple moments towards the end of the film on the train, I think, where like no words are spoken between her and Ethan, but like she sells it on her face that she's like about to break down when he like asks her if she's okay, and like just masterful. Haley Atwell is amazing.
mm-hmm. She great.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the whole cast was fantastic. Benji and Luther get the short end of the stick a little bit as well this movie. They don't
Yeah,
have as much to do, but what they do have is great. Like Benji, like I was actually kind of nervous for Benji's life at the airport there, like especially
yeah,
with like some of the
that was a
questions
tense
like,
scene.
yeah, what do you hold most dear? My friends. And it's like, oh no, are we going to lose Benji? Like, holy crap. And like Luther's speech towards the end was really nice as
Yeah,
well.
I agree. They didn't have a lot in it, but they each had their moment that
Totally.
was very worth it. So
Hmm.
I'm happy in that sense. I wasn't. I didn't feel like I needed more of them. I think as they're minor characters that are there to serve a purpose, and they did.
Totally.
Uh, and Simon Pegg and Ving Rhames did a great job as always. You
As
know,
always. Yeah.
lovable and funny and smart and
Yeah.
resourceful, and everything you'd need from them, want
Exactly.
from
Well,
them.
and I mean, also, like this far into a franchise too, you don't always need the same ensemble too, right? Like they can be sidelined
Yep.
a couple of times. So
Yeah, bring some
no,
other people out and build up the
totally.
gang.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the screen time was allocated properly. Maybe not so much on Rebecca, or I won't say necessarily on Rebecca Ferguson's character, on her part, but maybe just the use of that time wasn't really
Hmm.
great comparatively, anyway. But like the screen time for new faces, fresh faces were good. Palm Clementive's character, she like spoke a couple lines throughout the whole film, but she was fantastic. Like
Yeah,
she was ferocious and terrifying, and she
I
was just
wish that
great.
they would have kept her alive and she could have joined the gang at
Well,
the end.
the one like CIA dude did feel a pulse at the end of the
Oh,
film,
that
so
is true.
and they wouldn't just throw that in there, right?
That's also true. Yeah,
Right.
good point. I
Hopefully,
forgot about that.
if they know what they're doing.
We'll see,
Um, yeah.
because that would
But
be an interesting story development to bring back for part two. The
totally.
defected agent that sort of
Hmm.
knows about what his face is up to.
Gabriel. I don't
Gabriel.
know how to say his real name. Isai Morales, maybe.
Who
But
knows?
yeah, Gabriel. He was good.
He was all right. I wasn't
menacing,
a
I would say.
huge fan of his delivery some of the times, but I think that's
No,
also just his, the direction that he's given to sort of be like deadpan and hard to read and all
I
that.
think I think sizzle, but not so much steak with his character. I think like the flair was there. I bought it. He was menacing, but past that, it was like, I mean, it's also rooted with the problem of the rogue AI thing, like getting back into some low lights. Like the whole plot is pretty shit, especially comparatively.
Yeah,
Like the whole rogue AI thing, I didn't care for at all. Um, I mean, like
I'm
there are
almost on the
moments,
side of the AI, honestly, because
right?
it
Yeah,
seems like every other party in this sucks
right.
as well.
Totally. Yeah, we get
Like,
we get some like maybe half-assed twists towards the end where the Carrie Elwes's character, the CIA guy or whatever, ends up on the train and he's like he's trying to cut a deal with Gabriel and everything. So,
yeah, it seems like they're really just trying to say, oh yeah, Ethan's the only good guy here because he wants to destroy it,
right.
and that's the only answer. And I agree that probably destroying it's for the best, but at the
Totally.
same time, the next side that I'm on is Gabriel and the AI, because
Right.
I don't fucking trust any of these governments to have this power. I'd
Well,
rather have the AI sort of be like a moderator of everyone, keep everybody in check,
right. Yeah.
because it's at
Yeah,
least not going to be biased for the most part,
totally.
maybe, or it has
Yeah,
its own
yeah.
bias.
Then you get into like gray areas of like what is truth and everything, right?
Yeah,
Um, but that kind of aside, just the handling of that whole nice downer. um, the handling of the whole AI as a plot device type thing and the introduction of it all, I don't like. It was very messy to me. Like I had a hard time following like what it was all about and everything. Like
2001 did it better, and that was
right,
like 50 years ago.
yeah,
No, more,
70,
60,
yeah,
almost 70 years
yeah,
ago.
yeah. Um, so yeah, I didn't love that. There were like moments I liked. Like I liked I think more stylistically, I liked when they were in the like nightclub and
Hmm.
it like that reveal when the AI like eye, whatever you want to call it, shows up. The entity shows
This
up all over
party
the
is the
walls and
party.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, what else? What other lowlights or highlights do you have, Matt?
Mm,
I think we could maybe touch on the airport. We kind of glossed over that a little bit. We went
yeah, the
more towards
airport
third
was
act.
good. There was a lot of good tension, a lot of
Yeah.
build up and release. The
Hmm.
introduction of uh, Grace
Yes, that was
was there.
fantastic. It
I
was a great
liked
cat and
the
mouse game, right? Throughout the
yeah,
whole airport.
the sleight of hand stuff was fun.
Hmm.
I
Great
really
comedic
liked,
bits with the face, the deep
yeah,
faking on
the
random
deep
people.
fake, the live erasing,
Yeah.
and the face swapping bit was cool. The
Hmm.
part when Ethan was running up above the building
Yeah.
across, and another guy's like, "Where the hell did he go?" That
Yeah.
was a good bit.
Yeah.
Um, and I liked when the Benji scene diffusing the
The Benji.
bomb,
Yeah.
when they're all like they're turning off the mic and they're not talking to him and they're having their own
Yeah.
conversation
I
and
was
he
waiting for
leaves.
it to be like he talks to the wrong person, right?
I
I
was
think it
thinking that
kind
would
of goes
happen
like
too.
that, but yeah.
But
That
yeah,
was
that
really
bomb
good.
defusal thing. And when Benji then just starts like ripping off other people's packages from the
Oh
conveyor belt
yeah.
looking
Yeah.
for tools and stuff.
Yeah. He has like some nail clippers and some scissors in his mouth while he's trying to diffuse it. That was really good. Really great. Like very quick. Like which just goes to show like these writers have some like competency because they're able to introduce stakes like lightning fast like that, right? We had no
Hmm.
prior knowledge of this bomb, but like they spent the prior 3 scenes developing this whole evil AI, rogue AI, and all of these different intelligence agencies or whatever wanting to get control of it and trying to understand what's going on. But
Yeah.
like Ethan's debrief to Luther and Benji like cover that already again, right? So we're seeing that again, but like it's still very effective. Um, yeah, that was really good. I think there were a lot of moving parts too, right? Because like Ethan was on his own mission, and then Benji had to go do the bomb
Yeah.
thing. But then you also have the like CIA agents chasing down Ethan. You got the rapport with Grace and Ethan back and forth, right? You have the mysterious Gabriel in the shadows doing something, right? There's a lot of moving parts, and they like execute it so masterfully.
Yeah. There's a
So,
lot of great suspense building where, you know, certain characters know certain information that other characters don't know, and we as the
mm-hmm,
audience know character or information that the other characters don't know. And
mm-hmm,
this whole like web of who knows what, and like all of that just builds up, and it rolls and it rolls and it rolls, and they keep crossing over, and people will find out
mm-hmm,
something, and
yep,
it's just a great build up, and it
mm-hmm,
snowballs, and then it sort of like almost just like puffs out into nothing at the end, in
a
like
little bit,
in
yeah.
like the perfect way. Like everybody just sort of like gets away, and the whole mission is sort of just like moot,
Mm-hmm.
and you're
Yeah,
like, oh shit, okay. And then it keeps the tension built for when you go to the next scene. There is no release at the end of the scene. It maintains that kind of pressure that they've put on you as a viewer, and it
yeah,
propels you into the next scene.
for sure. Yeah, loved that scene. That was my favorite part of the whole film for sure. Um, and yeah, then we kind of go into like that middle act section with the underwhelming car chase in Rome and everything, right? And all of
Yeah.
the like stuff with what's her name again? Ilsa. Ilsa comes back
Ilsa,
to help and everything.
she just shows up.
Yeah, she doesn't do anything. And like, okay, so you know what? I actually think I am going to change my wording. The whole first act sucks, like right up until the airport, because like there's the desert shit in the first act as well, too, right? Completely unnecessary. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we get a random death fake out only for them to kill her later on as well. Like, so why?
A random
So
death
random.
fake out where anyone with a clue is like, oh, she's not dead.
Yeah,
Because you didn't
exactly.
see her get shot. She didn't get shot. She shot somebody, and then the next scene she was laying down on the ground, so you're like, oh, she's faking it.
Yeah,
And then you know it as a viewer. And then they
yeah.
play it off for like 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's a very sloppy first act. It's just so weird because there's great stuff in this movie. So
Yeah.
odd. Um, well, I'm running out of things to talk about for highlights. I'll mention a quick one. Lorne Balfe returns to do the score for this one. He was the composer on Fallout, and I loved his score on Fallout. And he does an excellent job this time around as well. I
Yeah. Music
loved
was
the
great.
like twist for the theme this time around with the drumming line. Like I thought that was like going to be gimmicky when they showed it in our like press screening thing with the red carpet, but it was actually like really good, and it like was very like punchy and like really exhilarating. I loved it.
I agree.
Yeah. Do you have anything else, Matt, you wanted to touch on really quick that you can think of?
I think we've, across the both of us, covered pretty much everything that I want to say.
Uh, I have one more thing I want to say, kind
All
of
right.
two things. With the airport scene, one thing I wanted to mention, I loved the callback to Ethan's magic skill, where he
Oh, yeah.
like does the trick with Grace. That was a really nice callback. And then like kind of a semi callback. Kittredge, who's from the first film, he was the secretary of the IMF in the first film. He ends up on a train in the third act of a Mission Impossible film again, making a deal with an arms dealer. Like, That's just wild.
A
So
nice
funny.
full circle moment.
Exactly. Yep. Actually, I keep thinking of things to toss on the pile. I also really liked for the highlights. I liked his voiceover mission debriefing at the end, where it was like a playful rewording
Yeah,
of the standard jargon. Right. It was more like more end of the world stakes, so like a little tropey, but still effective. I think overall.
I agree.
So yeah, that's I think we're where we're gonna leave it. I think they knocked it out of the park for the most part. Still very entertaining, very fun. Um, Definitely not reaching the lows of this franchise that it has reached in the past with like MI2 and whatnot. But yeah, a little bit sloppy, still fun. So, uh, Matt, I guess we're at the plugs section. Where can the people find you?
The people who can find me on Letterboxd. Um, at Wisdom Nugget. If you look for that, I'll be there.
Perfect.
And you can find my Instagram through there if you want to.
Ooh, did you get the fun Mission Impossible Easter egg when you reviewed the film?
I did.
That was cool. Hey,
I was like, all right, that's okay.
yeah, it's a fun
It's
gimmick.
kind of gimmicky. I like
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
It's surprising.
yeah.
I thought
I,
for at the beginning, I was like, oh, was my review too critical? And now they don't want to post it. Like, has Tom paid off Letterbox to say like anybody that gives us less than 4 stars, delete their review?
yeah,
But no, it's fine. Ethan was on my side, so it's
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Cool. And then, do you have any other recommendations of things you're watching, playing, reading, listening to?
Mm, I say
Make the
Rocket
Jeopardy
League.
music. Rocket League. Nice.
Why
Topical.
not? I don't know. I just downloaded it. I've been playing it a little bit. It's kind of fun, but also pisses me the fuck off most of the time,
As that game should.
as it does.
The perfect
But I've been getting a
duology.
little bit better. I've been getting a
Yes.
little bit better.
Practice makes
Um,
perfect, my friend.
yeah, still losing more games than winning, but
Yeah.
we'll get there. I played like a 5 minute long overtime game with a bot on my team the
Oh
other
my
night,
god.
and oh god, I was so annoyed when we lost that one
Eh.
because like I was saving shots left and right and playing defense to try and keep us alive, and the
Yeah.
fucking bot ended up feeding it directly to them in front of our net, and then
Oh god, that hurts.
goddamn,
That hurts
his
me.
name
If
was
it makes you feel
Tex.
any better, I had a pretty terrible losing streak the night before we had our last gaming sesh. My Steam name is also No Score, so I was on a pretty big losing streak, but it was the same like group of people that kept readying up. So there was a banter in the chat of the No Score curse happening anytime I was on their team because I was sucking shit, man. It was brutal.
I hate sucking shit.
Yeah, don't you hate sucking shit? On that
Bummer.
note, you can find me wherever you're listening to or watching the No Score Review Show. I recently did the second episode of Franchise in Review with Jake Sturkenboom, where we reviewed the whole franchise aside from this film of Mission Impossible. So be sure to go check that out if you haven't already. That's a YouTube exclusive, so go check out the YouTube channel for that. I also had reviews for Asteroid City, and I think The Flash might have been the other most recent thing. So go check those out and stay tuned for more reviews. We're going to have Barbenheimer next week. So that's very exciting. I'm looking forward to doing
Hell
that.
yeah.
And other great summer movies coming down the line as well. Ninja Turtles,
Yeah.
other things. Blue Beetle's coming. I'm not anticipating that to be a hit, but
Uh,
we'll see. That's the only thing that comes to mind right now. A couple other horror movies as well that I want to go see this summer. Talk to Me and Last Voyage of the Demeter. Those look fun. But yeah, so keep it locked to YouTube and podcast services wherever you find the No Score Review Show. Otherwise, you can follow me on all the socials and Letterboxd at No Score or at No Score Reviews. I'll give a quick shout out to my gaming channel, as always, No Score Plays. If you like indie game Let's Play content, go check that out. And until then, we'll see you all in the next review. Bye-bye.